Hello, I'm Dr. Alan Lee, your host for this program, and we have as our guest today someone running for Congress on the 22nd District, and it's Pierce Bush.
Dr. Lee, it's great to be here with you. Thank you so much for hosting your first talk show.
Okay, now I understand your territory is part of it's Fort Bend County, and we want to know the other areas that it encompasses as well.
So the 22nd District of Texas is a district, an incredible district in the greater Houston region. It covers a lot of Fort Bend County, Sugar Land, Katy, Cinco Ranch, Richmond, Rosenberg, but it also goes into North Brazoria County, Pearland, Alvin, Manville, and it even goes into parts of Harris County, where Ellington Air Force Base is, and in the city of Webster, and right near Clear Lake and part of Friendswood. So it's a huge district. It is the largest congressional district in the United States of America based on population, and it's also the most diverse. It is the most diverse congressional district of the 435 in this country, and it is an amazing district. It represents what's best about this incredible country, the United States of America.
I'm glad you said all that because it's more than just Fort Bend County and Sugar Land. And, I'm glad it covers such a large district. I myself am more aware of this. I could reach out to people in other areas as well.
Good.
And I understand you're the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sister Lone Star region.
Sure.
Can you tell us the history of how you started and became CEO, as well as the goals of that organization?
So Big Brothers Big Sisters is the largest, it's nationwide, but it's the largest one-to-one mentoring agency in the country. We take kids whose guardians sign them up for the program. 90% of our kids come from single-parent households, are on free and reduced lunch, or have a parent that has been incarcerated. And we match them with a positive, safe volunteer mentor. Look, it doesn't matter where you're from. Everybody's life has been impacted by positive mentors. It is just part of the human experience. I certainly can say my life has been forever changed by a lot of really good mentors. And so our agency really changes the outcomes and the trajectory of thousands of kids in the 22nd Congressional District, but throughout the whole greater Houston region. And I've had the honor to sign up 11 years ago to become a big brother to a young man named Jalen. We've now been brothers for 11 years. I never thought I would work there, but I joined the staff in 2012, and I became the CEO of the largest affiliate Big Brothers Big Sisters agency in 2015. And we were able to turn around a ship that had been losing money every year through good fiscal governance. We turned it around, and we started growing the number of kids we were able to impact because of it. And so it was an awesome job, and it gave me an understanding of the incredible community that makes up the 22nd Congressional District. This is, again, the most diverse congressional district in the country, and I had the honor of working with a lot of that diversity in my role leading Big Brothers Big Sisters Lone Star.
So it sounds like a very worthwhile project. And also, one of your awards, I guess, in your performing this task is you were voted the most admired CEO of a nonprofit organization by the Houston Business Journal 2018.
Yeah. I was honored to be nominated by a few people, and I was honored to receive that. It was not easy. The years before I was the CEO, we were losing over $1 million a year. And we were eating up all of our rainy day funds. And the way that I was able to help turn this agency around was not me single-handedly doing it. It was I empowered our staff to be leaders. We opened up our books, and we started operating an open book management system. And it's a transparent system. When you have transparency and open book, people make good decisions. And it's helped inspire my view of how government should run. We need to have more transparency. We need to have more delegation of authority to the local level. I'm a fundamental believer that the federal government, has two fundamental roles in our lives. One is protecting our national security. The other is defending our liberties. And other than that, we need to let people make decisions in their own lives, because freedom works here in the United States of America. And people, you see it all over this congressional district. People, when they're free to start businesses, to invest in the community, good things happen and prosperity grows. And again, those things are worth fighting for.
Definitely. Your family has a legacy of being in politics, with your grandfather being the president of the United States and your uncle as well, and your other uncle being the governor of Florida. Do you feel like you share the same philosophy and vision toward politics, and your thoughts are very similar to your predecessors?
So it's a good question. I would say, I'm certainly from a different generation, and I'm certainly my own guy. I'm blessed, first of all, to come from the Bush family. From my grandfather, I inherited the gift of unconditional love. He passed away in late 2018. One of the best parts about growing up in this area was I got to spend a lot of time with him. And he was just a really good man. And I think everybody that knew him thought he was a good man. And so I learned from him, and I certainly consider this a trait that's worth carrying on, but there's a kindness and a gentleness. It doesn't mean you're not strong. My grandfather was the strongest individual I knew, but he was very kind, he was very gentle, he was very empathetic. He had the ability to put himself in the other guy's shoes. He was always thinking about the other person. And I think in that spirit, I hope I can emulate them. In terms of political ideology, I think that they, just like me, believed that everybody should have a chance at living a life to their full God-given potential. And again, government's role in doing that is to stay out of the way in a lot of cases, but to have a compassionate heart, to understand what's going on, and to be inclusive and encouraging. And so in that way, in that spirit, I hope I can emulate them. But I also know it's important to be your own person, and I hope to achieve that as well.
I'd like to say a word about your grandmother, Barbara, as well. I had the honor and pleasure of meeting her, and when you talk about control, I think she had control of the entire family. And the few times that I was able to interact and talk to her and everything, she had control, and yet she made me feel so comfortable. I didn't feel any anxiety or any intimidation. I just felt real comfortable at the time I interacted with her.
Yeah, she was that tough grandma that every family probably has or should have. And I can tell you that I and my cousins have taken nothing for granted in life, because my grandmother raised us with a tough love, and she made sure that we were always part of something that was bigger than ourselves. She found it very important for us to find vocations that contributed to the community at large. It didn't mean necessarily, she never encouraged public service in the form of elected office. That was but she encouraged public service in the sense that every citizen has a responsibility to care for their neighbors and to do something positive, and to find ways to get involved and get your jersey dirty, as my grandfather would say. And so, yeah, Barbara Bush was an amazing grandmother, and I'm certainly better because of her influence in my life.
Okay. You also mentioned the topic of education. I guess we could elaborate on that. Do you see yourself making any changes or anything to improve the education system in your area?
Sure. So first of all, education is critically important. It is driven really through the state level and the school board level and the local level. But federally, look, we have to be a nation that invests in the future. And we need to be very competitive and make sure that our institutions across the board are training future generations of Americans to have the skills needed to compete in a global environment. And so I'm a huge advocate for education. I think it's very important that we make sure that our schools continue to be top-notch in this country, and that people have a pathway to learn skills that translate into work. This is a great time, as you know, to graduate high school and look for work, or to graduate college and look for work. The economy is doing very well because of the deregulated market, because people are able to take risks without the heavy hand of government holding them down, and just to create things. And we need to celebrate that entrepreneurialism, but we also need to make sure we're educating future workforces of Americans so that we have the skilled workforce we'll need.
Yes. Okay, there's been alarming situation in Sugar Land that I know peace officers and people that were involved in security problems, like home invasion, and a lot of that's prevalent in Sugar Land. Do you have ideas and what you can do to help the security and law enforcement in your area?
Sure. You know, first of all, it's really important that we have safe communities. Again, this is primarily a local issue and a state issue, but the federal government does weigh in and invest in certain programs, one of which is 287G. And that's a program that the federal government offered for law enforcement to coordinate with ICE to make sure that if people are here illegally and they commit a crime, that they're not, you know, that they're kicked out of the country, because we know we need to keep our communities safe. So there's certain programs like that the federal government can weigh in on to make sure that we have safer communities. Nobody, in my opinion, should be getting attacked at their home. And we need to make sure that we're preventing crimes and we're investing in top-notch law enforcement to protect people's safety. That's probably the highest role of government service, is to make sure that we have safe communities. Again, it's a local and state issue, but the federal government, you know, as a member of Congress, we could certainly weigh in to make sure that they're adequately resourced, because safe communities are good for everyone.
Great. Now, today is the last day for early voting for
Yes.
your primary election. I guess we have a few more hours if you're going to plan to do early voting, but the main date for the primary voting is March the 3rd,
Yes.
Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's really important people vote. I have noticed that there's a lot of communities and people that don't vote in the primaries. And democracy is an experiment in who shows up. And we need more people to show up and vote. And frankly, I'll shamelessly say this, I need people to vote in the Republican primary, and I need them to vote for me. If you live in the 22nd Congressional District of Texas, Pearland, Sugar Land, Richmond, Rosenberg, Katy, Cinco Ranch, please go vote, and I hope I can earn your vote. I need it. And when you show up and vote, you're part of the democratic process here in this country, and your voice is heard. Everybody keeps track of who votes. It's the one thing I've learned campaigning. It really matters that you vote. And if you don't vote, your voice is not heard as much. And it's important that your voice is heard. I think it's important that everybody gets educated on the issues and on the candidates, and they go vote. And I hope they'll vote for me.
Definitely. You have our vote. And so don't forget March the 3rd. And you also said it's very important to vote in the primary, not waiting for the final election.
Sure.
Yes.
And vote in the Republican primary for Pierce Bush.
Yeah. Primary, March the 3rd, Tuesday, for Pierce Bush.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much.